They called it a tin can, outgunned, out-armored, and outdated compared to Germany's fearsome Tigers and Panthers. Yet against all odds, the American Sherman tank dominated the battlefields of World War II. How did a so-called inferior machine defeat the most advanced tanks of its time? The truth behind this unlikely victory will leave you stunned. World War II, a time when entire nations poured their strength into machines of war. Among these, two names became legends: the mighty German Tigers and Panthers, and the unstoppable American Sherman. Two very different machines, built with two very different philosophies. One chasing perfection, the other chasing victory through practicality. This is the untold story of how the simple Sherman defeated Germany's armored monsters, not through strength, but through strategy, communication, and sheer numbers.
Germany's tank program was born from a belief in superiority. Every tank had to be a masterpiece, powerful, heavily armored, and technologically advanced. The Tiger I, introduced in 1942, weighed nearly 60 tons. Its armor was so thick that most Allied shells bounced harmlessly away. Its gun, the legendary 88mm cannon, could destroy enemy tanks before they were even visible. Then came the Panther, sleek and deadly, with sloped armor that deflected shells and a long 75mm gun that punched through Allied tanks with ease. But all this perfection came with a price: complexity. Each tank was expensive, time-consuming, and required expert maintenance. Across the Atlantic, the Americans saw war differently. They built a tank that was simple, fast, reliable, and easy to mass-produce. The M4 Sherman. Not as thickly armored, not as heavily armed, but it could be built by the tens of thousands. America's goal was not to make the perfect tank, but to make enough tanks to win the war. When the Tiger first appeared on the battlefield, Allied troops were stunned. Its armor, 100 millimeters thick at the front, made it nearly invincible from head-on. Its 80mm gun could destroy a Sherman from over a mile away. The Panther, slightly lighter, used sloped armor, a brilliant innovation that increased protection without adding weight. Its 75mm high-velocity gun was accurate and deadly. The Sherman, by comparison, had thinner armor, around 50 millimeters, and an early 75mm gun that often couldn't penetrate a Tiger's front. Later versions were upgraded to a 76mm gun, and the British even fitted a Sherman variant with their own powerful 17-pounder, calling it the Firefly, one of the few tanks that could challenge the Tiger head-on. Still, the Sherman's real strength wasn't in one-on-one battles. It was in numbers, speed, and teamwork. 5 Shermans could surround one Tiger, attacking from the sides or rear, where its armor was weakest. Tactics replaced brute strength. The Sherman could reach speeds up to 48 to 50 miles per hour, incredibly fast for a tank of its time. The Tiger? Only about 25 miles per hour on good ground, often less on muddy terrain. That speed gave Sherman crews flexibility to advance, retreat, or reposition faster than the German tanks could react. German tanks often lagged behind infantry or fuel convoys, turning into easy targets for Allied aircraft and artillery. The Sherman, lighter and more mobile, could cross bridges and soft ground that a Tiger would sink in. Speed became survival. On the battlefield, reliability meant everything, the difference between victory and a smoking wreck. The Sherman was brilliantly designed for field repair, common parts, simple engines, interchangeable components that any mechanic could swap out under fire. When a Sherman broke down, crew mechanics could resurrect it within hours, sometimes cannibalizing parts from a damaged neighbor, getting the steel beast roaring back to life. But the German Tigers and Panthers? Magnificent engineering marvels, yet absolute mechanical nightmares. Each monster possessed complex gearboxes, delicate suspension systems, and temperamental engines that overheated or catastrophically failed under combat stress. The mighty Tiger consumed nearly 8 gallons of precious fuel just to cough its engine awake. Countless German tanks were lost, not to enemy shells or aerial bombardment, but to mechanical breakdowns and crippling fuel shortages. Stranded metal coffins littered European roads, abandoned and deliberately destroyed by their own desperate crews to prevent Allied capture. The brutal truth of armored warfare: a tank that cannot move is a tank that cannot fight, and a tank that cannot fight is just a 30-ton tomb. There's a secret weapon most people never talk about: communication. German tanks mostly used AM band radios, old technology, prone to interference and static. Some tanks could only receive messages. They couldn't reply. And shockingly, some German tanks had no radios at all. They used colored flags to signal between vehicles, even in the chaos of battle. The Sherman, on the other hand, came equipped with advanced FM radios, crystal clear, reliable, and fast. For the first time, tank crews could talk in real time with each other, with infantry, and with air support overhead. That meant better coordination, quicker responses, and fewer deadly mistakes. While German tanks fought as isolated machines, Shermans fought as a team. Communication turned chaos into control, and control wins battles. By 1945, the numbers told a devastating story. Germany had manufactured approximately 50,000 armored vehicles throughout the entire war, including merely 1,139 Tiger tanks and roughly 6,000 Panthers. Their superior war machines, painstakingly crafted like precision timepieces. Meanwhile, the United States alone had unleashed over 90,000 Sherman tanks onto the battlefields of Europe and the Pacific. The numbers weren't just staggering, they were absolutely crushing. Every single time a Sherman was destroyed in combat, another rolled off American assembly lines within days to take its place. Massive factories in Detroit, Chicago, and Cleveland operated relentlessly around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, churning out armored vehicles faster than German gunners could possibly destroy them. Hitler's fatal obsession with engineering perfect superweapons meant Germany simply couldn't compete in the brutal mathematics of industrial warfare. While German engineers obsessed over technical perfection, American factories embraced practical efficiency. The Allies had discovered something the Axis powers never understood. They transformed mass production itself into the ultimate weapon of modern war. Quantity possessed a devastating quality all its own, an endless steel tide that no amount of German engineering excellence could hope to stop. German tank divisions often fought desperately alone, isolated, unsupported, and dangerously overextended across vast battlefields. Their critical supply lines stretched impossibly thin, their precious fuel reserves evaporating with each passing day. American and British forces, however, had mastered something far deadlier: combined arms warfare, the perfect symphony of destruction. Shermans never fought alone. They advanced with infantry protection, devastating artillery support, and lethal air power circling overhead like hungry hawks. They rolled forward in coordinated platoons of 5 tanks, crews communicating constantly through crackling radios, synchronizing every tactical move with military precision. When a Sherman unit suddenly encountered a fearsome Tiger tank, they didn't panic or retreat. They adapted instantly. While one Sherman bravely distracted the German beast from the front, drawing its attention and turret, others smoothly flanked from the sides, exploiting the Tiger's vulnerable armor weaknesses. High above, Allied fighter bombers circled patiently, ready to unleash devastating strikes on any German column their pilots spotted from the sky. This wasn't about individual tank strength or superior engineering. This was about something the Germans never truly understood: flawless teamwork, tactical coordination, and the crushing application of overwhelming combined force. Victory belonged not to the strongest machine, but to the smartest army. In the end, the Tiger and Panther represented absolute engineering masterpieces, magnificent symbols of German precision, technological ambition, and raw mechanical power that still captivate military historians today. But here's the brutal truth about warfare. War doesn't reward perfection. War rewards what actually works on the battlefield when the shells start falling. The Sherman proved faster, covering ground that Tigers could only dream of reaching. Easier to repair, with mechanics fixing battle damage in hours rather than weeks. Cheaper to build, allowing factories to produce 10 Shermans for every Tiger that rolled out of German plants. Most critically, the Sherman formed an integral part of something far greater than itself: a massive, precisely coordinated war machine backed by unstoppable American industrial might, devastating air superiority, and revolutionary radio communication networks that linked every unit in real time. The Sherman wasn't merely a tank competing in some engineering competition. It was the steel-beating heart of Allied victory, the dependable workhorse that carried American and British soldiers from the beaches of Normandy to the rubble of Berlin. While German engineers chased impossible perfection, American factories built practical victory. And when the smoke finally cleared in 1945, it wasn't the superior tank that won. It was the reliable one,